painful to say, but Battlefield 5 killed the air game, and I'm gonna show you why, how to fix it, some easy solutions that the developers can just put into place like right away. Nothing crazy drastic. So we'll go through them real simply, and I'll explain why and why previous titles were a lot more fun. So this video is not going to be to bash Battlefield 5 because it has awesome potential, and like I see the theme they're going for and I'm all for it, but we just got to be honest and say it's really not as fun as previous titles, and it's really built around farming infantry, like immediately killing planes, and basically no offensive or defensive maneuvers to kill other planes, dogfight, get away from things, and just have a fun time. If you like killing ground troops and immediately killing planes, you'll love this game. If you like outsmarting people and you know, having like a skill gap to master things, you're gonna hate this game. So I loved Battlefield 1 flying just because it was real simple. It was probably the most simple flight model, and it also allowed for you to like play offense and outsmart somebody, or play defense and outsmart somebody. It did have its drawbacks in the simplicity of it, but it should be getting better from that point. Like, it should be, the next game should be at least like that fun, or at least that complicated. What I hate about this game is the exact reason why I love previous titles, but just that those factors aren't there. So the offense and defense aren't there, and it's basically just built all around farming, which I hated in Battlefield 1. Though, like, part of the reason I played Battlefield 1 was to get up and kill people who were farming, who would go like 80-0, and you'd be on the ground just getting slaughtered by like the trench fighter when it first came out, heavy bombers, and it's just like, all right, we gotta do something to stop this guy. Battlefield 5 is just, all of the fixes so far have been, okay, how do we limit people who go on crazy kill streaks, and not how do we make this more fun and easier for somebody who has some skills to use those skills and do well in a game. So let's explain these proportions. There's three major points here. So field of view, time to kill, and turning rate. So how long it takes you to make a full turn, vertical or horizontal. For Battlefield 5, they are totally out of whack, and they're so out of whack that it doesn't allow you to have a defensive game. Most of the time, you're going to see somebody on your tail, and you're going to die. No matter how good you are, you're probably going to die. Some people might counter this and say like, oh, you can just stall and do that. But if there's a good pilot behind you, they'll predict that, and you're just dead. Your only solution is now out the window. All of those factors, all those proportions are totally out of whack with Battlefield 5. And in previous titles, they were more well proportioned. So you had time to do offense and defense. You had time to not get like shredded instantly by, like, let's say a BF 109 rocket on a head-on with a giant hitbox. So from Battlefield 3 to Battlefield 4 to Battlefield 1 to now, we've seen a gradual increase in field of view. So field of view is a huge factor in these kind of games. These kind of like not flight simulator games, more kind of arcadey, like a mix between realistic and arcadey, which is kind of what Battlefield 5 is going for, but the proportions are just all wrong. Battlefield 3, you saw, just let's make up a number and say like you had a 50 field of view. Battlefield 4, let's just say you had like a 70 field of view. Battlefield 1, let's say you had an 80 field of view. Battlefield 5 started off with like 120, now it's down to like 90, and it's still too wide. Not only is it too wide, but it's too wide in proportion to like how fast your turn is, how often you'll see the other plane, and then that ruins it because you'll be able to counter like anything the pilot in front of you, or yeah, basically in front of you is going to do. In my opinion, it should be, all the values should be in between Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 3 or 4. Pick one, doesn't matter, it would be infinitely better. So let's give an example of that, and let's also show you what that would look like. So we can actually take some Battlefield 5 footage, just some practice on the friendly fire practice range. If we simply speed up the footage by 150%, then crop that footage by 135%, something like that, or just rough values, we'll get something that's sort of similar to BF1. So in both like turning rate and field of view. So by adjusting those values, just matching both the turning rate and field of view, then you see like this gameplay is infinitely better. It allows so much more defensive maneuvers, and also you don't see a huge amount of the map. I mean, look how much better this immediately looks right away. Just limit that. So if the field of view today was 90, lower it to whatever will match this. Let's say like, I don't know, 70. If the turning rate was, you know, it takes a full 10 seconds to do a full loop, lower it to whatever this is, or just proportionally what this is. Let's just say like 7 seconds, 6 seconds, something like that. Something to where you get, you know, the concept. Something where you get the concept that you have time to do defense, and it's difficult to follow somebody, but your skill will ultimately get you very close to being able to like almost match everything or match everything. So these proportions are only towards the air game. So like if you see the ground flying by because we sped up the footage, don't take that into consideration because that's a different aspect. So like you want to be able to have time to kill ground troops and not be flying through like when this footage is sped up to like 1,000,000 miles an hour. Like you could simply just be able to cut harder, and that will, you know, like lessen the amount of seconds it takes to do a full loop, whatever. You get the idea. So one of the big issues with Battlefield 1 versus, let's say, Battlefield 4 or 3 is that in the previous titles, like 3 and 4, you more had to... It was harder to cut into somebody's loop versus Battlefield 1. So in Battlefield 1, the braking system allowed you to basically brake and then insert yourself into that other person's loop. Whereas like before, if you slowed down a lot, you would not cut into as much as like Battlefield 1, and you would just slow down your loop entirely, not cut as hard. So in Battlefield 5, with this latest update, we've seen the same basically copy and paste of Battlefield 1, where now it's the same exact flight model with the addition of like this weird drag system and just like a slow turtle-like pace where it's almost like a flight simulator, but not, just weird. So once you have these two major factors, the field of view and how fast it takes to make a turn, then you can put in place like time to kill, how much bullets should do, all that kind of stuff. Right now with like the disabling system, it makes life even worse for flying, because if you get hit like a couple bullets, your wing is partially disabled, and it makes it so hard to do like defense. It's a little bit more forgiving because you have a lot more time with the loops in this at the moment. But once you speed things up and lessen the field of view, wing disables are gonna be, it's gonna be like Battlefield 1, where like you get hit and it's over. Like it doesn't matter how skilled you are. Sometimes like the lesser skilled person will simply win because they took out your wing, which is really annoying. So you could combat this by adding more wing repair things. So maybe like right now it's at 1, maybe put it to like 3. I don't know. That would be like a good temporary fix. I would love it if it didn't exist at all, because if anybody remembers in Battlefield 1, you could literally just go up against somebody who just started flying and they have a dogfighter bullet, they hit your wing with 1 bullet, and the fight could be over. No matter if you're the best pilot, there's a chance that the whole thing could be over just because you got hit by 1 incendiary bullet. So As far as like fun, that part is that makes flying not fun at all. So, I mean, that's hard. Like, if you want to keep realism in the game, you're gonna need wing disabling. But if you want it to be fun, you're gonna not want wing disabling in there, or you're gonna want to counter to it. So my suggestion is go for like just allow more slots for wing repair. You could even go as far as to be like, okay, you get 10 free wing repairs, but they don't repair your health. I would take that. So you know, it would give you like a fighting chance in the air versus like, you know, maybe if 3 wing repairs with 10 health repair for each is a little bit too drastic. So just some quick, easy solutions right there. So the time to kill should be also in proportion to like, you know, how many hits you can get on the person within a certain amount of the loop. So my suggestions, just go back to like Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1. Look at how long it took to kill people within that loop, or like how many bullets, how difficult it was to aim, and put that in proportion to this game. Because if you change those things again, field of view and turn rate, you're gonna also have to change the time to kill. Another huge problem is also the rockets. So the BF-109 rockets have an enormous hitbox. It's almost like an AA hitbox. So you literally, I think if you even hit the plane directly with the rocket, it just doesn't explode. Like if you're right next to it, it'll go like right through the wing. I personally think it should be just like direct hits. So a direct hit to the plane will do like a massive amount of damage. Because it's also like, if you look with the Spitfire, if they direct hit another fighter, I think it's like 3 damage. Like, what is that about? Like, what are you gonna do with 3 damage with a rocket? It's all out of whack with the Spitfire versus BF-109 rocket. And maybe it's not supposed to be an air-to-air thing, but at the very least, the hitbox just has to change in the BF-109. Because what you have right now is like, you could essentially have equal fighters turn and do a merge, and because the head-ons have so much time for you to hit each other, you could just let one rocket rip and just the fight's over. You don't even have to be accurate with it. Like, you can be within, I don't know, a 12-meter radius and still hit the other plane, and it instantly ends any dogfight if somebody uses a rocket. So there's those huge factors that just can be so easily changed, and I really hope they are, because it would make the air game so much more fun, and just these concepts will allow, you know, the developers to build on them and like expand on their theme too, and just make air game playable for like pilots instead of, you know, just simply farming the ground. Like, farming the ground is not fun after you can only do it for so long, and it just becomes so tedious and boring. But I really hope everyone can take this into consideration. Thanks for listening. Really hope I see some changes, because at this point, I don't even think I'm gonna fly anymore. And I love flying, but it's just, I went back to BF1, and I was like, wow, this is so much more exciting, even though it's so simple, than Battlefield 5. It's sad, man, but I hope it fixes. I hope it gets fixed. Alright guys, thanks for listening. If you want more specifics on what to change, just let me know. Comment, send me a message. Let me know like what topic within something you want to know about, and I'll give a solution. I think I have some pretty good ideas, and some people in the community have some good ideas too. Alright guys, thanks.